So cross beam, work it like that. You can get that flare. I actually like the cross beam with this for the texture. Kind of looks like it would one on mine. Like that. Probably not that. I'm gonna start hanging out with you more. Good. I'm making some crosses, but I'm not actually making the crosses necessarily for to sell. Man Camp, a ministry of Northwest Yearly Meeting of Friends, which is the Friends Church that I have family that's in out there in that area. They have a man camp every year, and as a part of their man camp, they do manly things out in the woods. And they asked me to consider being the speaker there next year, which will be late in February. But this year, my brother-in-law, John, he wanted to do a forging project with them. And he wanted to make a bunch of the crosses that I make. And so here's what they're made out of. It's a piece of 6 7/8 long, 5/8 square stock. And I have a jig that I may have already shot some video of. A jig that will cut them. This isn't fully cut here, but we split the two sides, split one way, turn it 90 degrees, split up the other. And then you actually cut the one end of, the crossbar shorter and the top is shorter. I actually have one of these on the wall here. So this is the kind of cross that I typically make. And this is how it starts. And I got a lot of the information about how to make these from John Bennett, who's an artist blacksmith, has a YouTube channel, has a great video on his channel about how to do this. And I'm making this as an instructional video for my brother-in-law, who's got some different circumstances, and just to tell people how I make these. And sort of like his video, I'm going to do a couple different textures, but mostly what I'm going to try to do is show you alternative ways of doing this, because John's going to have limited resources. He's not going to have necessarily real anvils. He's going to have more anvil-shaped objects, and so there's some tips and tricks I want to teach him about how to do this. All right, so with the blanks, the main order of operations is you want to open the ends. And again, you can do that with a hot cut, but if you don't have a hot cut, you can just use a hand chisel. You could use a screwdriver and just pry it open cold potentially, or drive some kind of a wedge in there just to get it started. And you heat it up, you open it up using the corner of the anvil and using the horn if you got it, or whatever, surfaces that you can. The main point is you don't want to hit the middle. You don't want to hit where the diamond is, because there's a corner on those diamonds and it's really easy to wreck that corner. And if you wreck the corner on the diamond, then you can't really undo that. If you have a rawhide mallet or a wooden mallet, that will let you hit the middle of the piece. So as you make these, if you're doing it for man camp with a bunch of guys, you might make some wooden mallets that are kind of disposable, that are a little heavy, and that people can use to beat on the middle, because it'll help them open it faster if they can hit the middle. This is my rawhide mallet. I have new caps for it, but this is a heavy thing. It's got a steel body that connects everything together. But this is softer, obviously, than the steel, and this is really good for making these. It's not a cheap mallet; it's a Garland rawhide mallet. So you open it up, there's bandsaw marks on the two arm sides, and then on the head and the foot side of the cross. And you heat it up after you get it open, and you erase with hammer marks those bandsaw marks, and then you flare the ends of the cross using a crosspeen hammer or a rounding hammer, something to spread the ends. It will make it skinnier on the end and make it wider when you hit it. And then you can texture, straighten everything up, and you can texture it. And I like to use just, this is probably a 1.5 pound crosspeen hammer. It's pretty good. It does a nice texture. You could modify a hammer like John Bennett in his video. I borrowed a lot of ideas from him. Again, you should look at his video, but he took a ball peen and a cutting disc, and he modified the end of the face of the hammer so that it made a texture more like wood, like rough sawn wood, more than kind of gnarly, really wavy bumps. And then you can use a ball peen hammer as well to do the texturing. That's not a bad deal. So here's the finished blank. It's got the two cuts. These open up to form the short sides of the cross. This opens up to form the long side of the cross, and then it's cut here to form the top of the cross. This is cut to match these two. And both those cuts cross over each other, and that is what creates that really neat diamond shape in the middle. If you didn't want that diamond shape, you could just cut them shorter, and it would actually, you could make it so that there was just a blanked off space there, or you could drive a drift down there to round them out and make them more like a Celtic kind of cross. But that's the basic blank that I use for mine. It's 5/8. There's a guy with a really neat YouTube channel. I think his name is John Bennett, Artist Blacksmith. I'll put a link in the cards for his video, but he's the one that showed the video that was one of the first that I saw that really taught how to cut them, how to figure out how what size. He has a chart on his channel, a very handy chart. I borrow his chart and use it, but 5/8 wasn't on his chart, and I really like the way that it looks. It just looks a little fatter, and it's just a good balance for me. So I ended up having to figure all that out, how that looks best to me for 5/8. You see this contraption here. There's a 10-pound weight, like a ladder pulley and a C-clamp, and then this fancy clip here. And what I actually do is I turn this into a self-feeding deal, and it really speeds things up because I can clean the shop while I'm cutting these crosses. I just have to set it up, and I have about 2 minutes. I could go do something else, come back, and it's good to go. So I'm going to set that up, show you how that works. So what you're seeing from the side of the jig here, this is the clamp. I have this frame for my bandsaw that I made. It just hangs in there, and this is how that pushes the trigger for you, so you can just have it go. But the string goes from here to this pulley, and then down around the bend. Got a 10-pound weight, which is just enough to give it some pull. All right, so I take my blank. This is 6 7/8 inches long, and hopefully the ends are nice and clean. Sometimes I might have to If it has a little burr on there, you get hung up. Feed it in there. I'll do the full length cut here first. So I'll go ahead and start it for a second. I'm getting it started. I'm putting a little bit of beeswax on there. I got a little beeswax on there. And then I pull up my jig. I got a little extra meat on there. And that, it runs parallel to the blade. Set my vice grip just like that. And the weight of the vice grip and the leverage from the weight of the vice grip actually keeps this back end down, and then the blade keeps this front end down. So I take the weight off of it for a second, start it up, and then I let it go. It's a long cut. I flip this little stopper down and get it set up the other way here. Lock her on, grab my beeswax, take the weight off for a second, turn it on, let it get started a little bit, add a little wax, and she's good to go. I should add that my favorite tongs for doing this process are these little round farrier tongs. They're not too bad to make. You can drive a ball peen. They've got this ball hole in the middle, so they just grab from the edge. And farriers like them because they grab horseshoes really well. They grab any angle that you want to hold something. But these are the tongs that are kind of the best for this exercise. You know, if you're not bound by just a flat anvil, what I like to do is use a hot cut to open them up. So for this first one, I'm grabbing it from the wrong part, but I'm going to grab from the foot of the cross. I'm going to take this punch and set it in that bandsaw cut. Just tap it. It kind of starts to open. The farther up you go. And then use the punch and the hammer to roll it over. Start opening the arms across. This is a round, this chisel is very rounded. It's more of a fuller than a chisel. Just driving it in, chasing it up to the point where I can start to open it more. So that if I set that in closer up by the diamond, drive it in, it opens it wider. So you want to get to the point where you can make it look really easy, don't I? Where you can get the corner of the anvil in there to start to open it wider. Again, like you're not going to probably have a hot cut. So that's, and I have a fuller that is like a rounded off that I would usually use just to make it easier to get in there. But I'm gonna pretend I don't have that stuff. So like you can take, see I'm holding this, and you can tap the ends to drive that corner of the anvil in. That's probably what I'm gonna do next. Okay, again, it's slightly opened. I'm holding it from the foot of the cross, and I'm gonna tap the end to open it, driving it into the corner of the anvil. I'm switching it up. I'm gonna pull it from here. And I don't want to hit that diamond, but I'm kind of driving it on there. It's really awkward at this stage. So I got this crazy cattywampus shape here, and I'm just kind of working where I can. get it open. You want to hit it in the center. That's what naturally what you'd want to do. So I'm tapping this side, this side, this side. There's different ones. Just try to get it open. Not wrecking the center. Try to get it straight. It takes a couple times, honestly, without having all the cheating tactics. But you can kind of hung the cross end over the anvil, tapped on the other side to straighten her up. Here's one that is kind of lumpy bumpy. I mean, it's pretty flat, but if you tap it like that, try to get the bandsaw marks off this one. You want to be real gentle when you get close to that diamond. You don't want to hit that diamond. Well, the bandsaw marks are pretty off. So now I'm going to move on to crossbeam hammer. Alright. I'm going to start flaring this end. I like to do the flare and then do the texture right after. Especially if you're doing a coal forge, because it's just got that one part hot, so you may as well just finish that one part. So that's how I like to do it, just one side. Okay, here's one of the ones that I was working on before. Just gonna keep in the texture. Not hitting the middle. Turn it around, grab the side of that one. Straighten there. Try to flare the end. I'm just slowly rocking this back and forth just to make it flare a little wider. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way, but that's how I can do it. So that's a couple sides here. Every now and then, especially if you got people sharing tongs, it's good to quench the tongs in water just to cool them back down. All right, this one's got a little bit of a crooked top. Normally I'd take that to the horn to try to straighten it, but pretend that I don't. So I'm going to go to the corner of the anvil, kind of tilt it down. That's better. Flare it in. Work that texture down. Okay, now I got flares and textures on all four sides. Now I want to make sure that it's flat. So you put it up. You don't want to hit too hard. I've got it upside down and I'm just driving the high spots into the anvil. I don't want to undo my texturing, so I flipped it around to use the peen to tap the textured side. You can look at it. If you have a vise to throw this in, it can speed it up quite a bit. But you want to make sure that it's flat. The different ways it could be bumpy and lumpy. You have a brush to get the scale off, like this brush here. Give it a nice brushing, get all that scale off. Tongs are getting toasty. I need to quench them, and I haven't. And that is pretty much the cross. Now, from this point, what I like to do is clean it up with a wire wheel and then put some wax on it. I don't know how practical that is for 40 of them, but I guess I'll show you how I do that. I'm going to let this get cool down. Okay, for this one, I'm going to go ahead and flare it, but I'm not going to do the texture because I want to do a different texture than this crossbeam has. So on this one, I'm going to flare the ends. It's cooling down, but if I hit it a little harder, I get kind of still. Flare the third end. And because I want to do a different texture, I'm actually going to flatten those marks out. And I'll go with this texture. So back here, hit it with the face of the hammer, take the marks out, flare even more. I got one more to flare, so here we go. Do a little test. And I just want to hammer every little area. Get the long part of the cross here. Just got that nice hammered texture. Again, I'm just flipping it over using the other side of the hammer to flatten it back out after I get a texture, because it can get a little wonky while you're doing the texture. But there's two sides with the ball peen texture. This is a little bit crooked there. So I'm going to throw it back in the forge, get the other two sides. Last texture. Be nice and flat. Hit it with the wire brush. Shines up pretty nice. I like a good hammered texture, although I like the wood better on the crosses, but to each their own. This is a metal cross. Try not to pretend to be a wood cross, you know? So here's that texture. And it's a fun one. All right, here's the different crosses. This one is the hammered texture. And then I have two that have the wooden texture from the cross peen hammer. Use this pedestal grinder to get the flat parts of it off. You know, being careful not to have that get sucked into the machine, obviously. And then I came over here to my vise and I put them in. I put them in like that in the vise. And by the way, I was wearing a full face shield when I did this. And gloves would be good. And then to get the sides, I used an angle grinder with a wire wheel. And this is a really dangerous tool. It's really grabby. But I got the flat, and you can go over the flats again with this too, but it's just a better deal to get the scale off of there. So if you put it in here this way, you know, and then flip it over 180 degrees to the other short sides in there, that's a pretty good way to clean off all the scale safely. And then I put a coat of beeswax on these ones. They used to sell this stuff called Johnson's paste wax. It's pretty affordable if you can't get beeswax. You might still have some of that available. The stuff that I've been using since they stopped making that and selling it is called tree wax. It's kind of clear wax. It's kind of like carnauba wax or something, but it's another kind of paste wax alternative that I've had pretty good luck with. It looks good on stuff. Like I put it on this fire poker here. It's kind of this white color, but it goes clear when you melt it. And that's what this block is. So beeswax is nice. It smells really good. If you got a good way to get beeswax, I would do that. But if not, there's alternatives. Almost any kind of floor paste wax that's, you know, just normal colored would be good. Blacksmiths used to use a mixture of boiled linseed oil and turpentine and beeswax to make something like the floor wax that we use. So it's very similar, something that can be applied cold if need be. So anyway, this is what I'm using now. There's other stuff out there, probably all about the same stuff. So if you would like the video, share the video with people that might actually like the video. If you would comment on the video, that's a free way you could support me. For now, I just thank you for watching, and I hope that you would be blessed by what I'm trying to do. Take care, blessings on you, and I'll see you for the next one.